That's the bulk of their defense, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Their front seven, right? That's
Cam
the bulk
Sims,
of that front seven.
Yep. Cam Sims, a wide receiver. Apke, a safety. I mean, there's a bunch of important players. Hill plays a lot for them. Welcome back to the middle. Harry Mays, Dan Sileo, and I just looked at the point spread for the Eagles-Washington football team game. It's up to 7, Dan. Eagles favored by 7. That's up from 4 a couple of days ago because of all these players.
I grabbed that because if they change the protocols by Friday,
right,
where they're going to allow these guys to play,
right,
that number's going to
grab Washington at +7.
Oh yeah, yeah. Grab Washington, absolutely. If you're a better, they're talking about it now. From what I understand, that the Players Association and the NFL are thinking about if you're vaccinated and booster, I think that you're going to be a little bit more forgiven, and you're going to be allowed to play. I don't know if that's asymptomatic. I don't know if that's going to be instituted this week, though, Harry. But again, man, there's just the league is blowing up right now. There's no question that you're going to have unfair advantages because of COVID going into some of these games. That's not a good look for the league.
We got 18 players right now for Washington on the COVID protocol list.
Hey, man, that's not competitive. Okay, that's not fair, man. You want to go into the game as possibly as competitive as you possibly can.
They did this to Denver last year.
They
kind of screwed them. So haven't they already set the precedent?
They set the precedent, but remember what they said, that if they were going to have a scenario like that again, that they were going to have forfeits. And see, now they can't do the forfeits because these guys are vaccinated.
Right.
They'd be going back on their word a little bit here. So I think it's going to be interesting over the next 48 hours to see what happens.
And I was reading some other opinions that said that they might just ramp up, in other words, increase the protocols, the stringent
increase them.
Yes, increase them. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Then great. Guess what? The Eagles have a shot at winning the Super Bowl.
Possibly. It is amazing though when you start looking around at some of these other teams. There's very few of these cases going on with the Eagles, so they must be doing something right.
Correct, man. And get this. So what the team with this sucks here. Watch this. It used to be, the healthiest team's going to have the best chance to win a Super Bowl.
Right.
Really, that really goes an extra step now. The team with the least amount of COVID cases is going to have the best chance to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
That's not going to go over with fans very well.
But what do you I consider a COVID case an actual illness. Like to me, it's just a positive test.
Yeah, but
unless you're
guys play through illnesses.
I know, but I'm just saying, like that when they say COVID cases, I don't even think these are COVID cases. Is my point?
No. Right.
Yeah,
right,
that's my point.
No. I don't want to use the term sniffles, but I mean, because that's not cool. But I mean, still, man, you've got symptoms. You're not saying Odell Beckham played the other night. He came down with it the next day, so obviously he played with it.
Right. Exactly. So, and he played well, by the way.
Played real. Yeah. Finally getting plugged in. And I'll tell you that Woods injury really has killed the Rams, but they're coming around a little bit better.
Yeah, no question. He was a big part of what they were doing. But then you look at what the NBA, like the Sixers, their players are still, basically giving the indication that they're still feeling the effects, even though they're coming back and playing. They lost last night to an undermanned Miami Heat team because they threw the zone defense at them, and the Sixers can't shoot.
Tell me something, though, Harry. How in the world is the NBA more affected? Is it because it's indoors that we're having more cases and more things? Hey, didn't the NHL kind of shut down shop a little bit too?
Some NHL teams have been hit. Yeah,
they're not going to go until Saturday or something like that.
The New York Islanders had to postpone a bunch of games. I know that.
I thought I saw that they were going to ramp it back up on Saturday. This and that, but is it because they're inside in these arenas?
Probably.
I mean, because you're around one another. But if you think about football, you're on top of each other. You're hitting each other. I mean, I thought that football would have more of an issue, but these NBA guys, it seems maybe the NBA protocols are a little bit more tougher than what you have with the NFL.
Possibly. Yeah. And when one or two guys on an NBA roster are on a list. That severely impacts a roster that only has like 14, 15 guys on it.
Absolutely.
As opposed to a football team.
Absolutely.
But Montez Sweat, I mean, Jonathan Allen, I'm just looking at some of the big names on here. Kendall Fuller, Matt Ioannidis, Kyle Allen, who's the backup quarterback.
That's
and
the bulk of their
starting
team.
quarterback is hurt.
That's the bulk of their defense, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Their front seven, right? That's
Cam
the bulk
Sims,
of that front seven.
Yep. Cam Sims, a wide receiver. Apke, a safety. I mean, there's a bunch of important players. Hill plays a lot for them. Pretty crazy.
Hey, watch Washington man up and beat them.
Oh, my God. Well,
watch him man up.
Hey, talk about a quarterback controversy then. After that,
here we go with Anklegate now. Who do you want to see Sunday?
I'd rather see Jalen Hurts.
You'd rather see Jalen over Gardner Minshew?
Yeah, I would.
Even a 70% Jalen?
Well, I would.
Okay.
I would, because
so you don't think that much of Gardner?
I just don't think he's the answer.
Okay.
All
right.
I mean, I just want to. I said from the beginning of the season, back in the summer, that this season was a look-see to see what we have with Jalen Hurts and to see if Nick Sirianni, can coach. And I think after like 6 or 7 weeks, I figured that Sirianni's not too bad. I'd rather have him than a couple of other guys in the
Urban Meyer,
in the NFL.
right?
Well, yeah, that goes without saying. But I'm okay with Sirianni. I didn't like the pandering that he was doing for the first couple months, but I got over it. And I want to see the final 4 weeks with Jalen Hurts. I want to see if one of these defenses can kind of stifle this run game, and to see if Jalen Hurts can rise above it with his arm. That's what I really would like to see.
Take me back to when Doug Peterson's first 2 years as a head coach in Philadelphia. What was the consensus on Doug Peterson his first year in Philly? How the fans and how the media looked at him compared to what we're talking about with Serriani?
It was kind of similar in the beginning too, because Doug said some things and admitted some things that kind of made him look like he didn't really have, a grasp, if you will. There was some he was very honest, and he would tell you stuff, and you're like, man, I wish you would I don't really need to know that, because now I'm kind of doubting it, kind of thing. So it was sort of the same with Sirianni. Sirianni, kind of came off as like kind of goofy with some of the things that he would tell us about the rock, paper, scissors, and all this
the
kind
Kobayashi
of stuff.
videos,
and playing horse, Kobayashi videos, all this kind of stuff. You're like, oh, I don't want to know this.
You drink the milk, you have it here, you're motivated. I go, dude, I know how to eat a hot dog.
Right.
Look at me.
Right. But it was kind of similar. And then when he started coaching with Carson the first year, you were like, yeah, I kind of starting to like this guy. I think he knows what he's doing. Plus, nobody else was knocking down Doug Peterson's door to be their coach. It just seemed like it's an Andy Reid thing. Nobody ever knew if he really called plays while he was in Cincinnati.
Yeah, but that was the consensus on Reid in Green Bay, too. Nobody knew if Andy Reid was going to be the guy when he came to Philly, because Holmgren called the plays up there. So they were kind of
he was a position coach.
Yeah,
I think it was just the fact that he was coaching Brett Favre.
Yeah.
And he got some, you knew who he was, at least. If you did know who he was, it was because he coached Favre.
Right.
So he had that as far as his resume.
So you think it looks similar in how
it looked similar,
how we're talking about Nick. I look at Nick and do this. I go, like I told you yesterday, I love the fact that he was able to go, okay, look, man, we got to get to the running game here. Okay, maybe we screwed up in the beginning here, and we didn't start this thing out like Seth Joyner said on my show the other day, that, hey, they should have been running the ball from day one and sticking with the run. Maybe to me, they didn't really have a definitive plan coming into the season. I think they've done all this, Harry, on the fly. There wasn't like, do you agree? New England came into this season, once they made the decision in the offseason that they were going to move off of Cam and go to Mac Jones, they were in that building, and all those coaches sat there, and they said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to run the ball. We're not going to put this guy in a position where he's got to throw the ball 35, 36 times, where he can get turnovers. We don't believe in turnovers. And they had a plan coming into the year. Doesn't it look like Philly went like this? Well, let's throw the ball, because that's my forte. I'm a receiver coach. I want to throw the ball.
Right.
Then all of a sudden they realized this guy's not accurate.
Right. He's not accurate. There's
and
limitations.
Week 5 or 6, they changed it, right?
And realized we got one of the best offensive lines in the league.
That's right. And they cost themselves some games at the beginning of the year where, like, people are saying this team should have I agree. I think this Eagle team should have a 500 record right now or better. I think they should have a better record.
They should have beaten San Francisco early in the season.
Right?
Yeah.
I look at this whole thing and go, man, the whole thing was kind of coming into the year was like you just said right now. You went like this. Well, like, it's kind of like, let's just wait and see how this thing all plays out. The quarterback, let's find out. It's kind of like they wobbled into the year not really having an identity or an idea of what the identity was going to look like.
Right. And we didn't know what they were going to look like because none of the starters played in the preseason. They didn't show anything in the preseason. It was all during these practices and stuff, which we don't have
Harry,
eyes on.
I hated those the controlled scrimmages that they were evaluating players on. Yeah. And I was talking to Ross Tucker, and I was Baldinger. And Baldinger was there.
The best.
He's
the best.
Oh, I love that guy. Hey, can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing with Balding, this is kind of embarrassing a little bit, but so Balding dated my wife before I knew my wife.
No way.
Oh, yeah, because when we were in Dallas together, so I've known Brian Baldinger longer than I've known my wife. We've been together 33 years. So every time I get him on my show, he's like, hey, how's my girl doing?
Oh, my God.
I go, you shut the hell up.
Oh, my God.
He goes, so that's what my kid would have looked like.
Oh, my God. Awful. But he's the greatest.
Hey, he was saying this, though. You know, in the practices, the Eagles were beating up on the Patriots. But then when the Patriots got in that exhibition game,
35-0.
They slapped them around, and I never really thought that they were in really game preparation. The one thing that I will always take to my grave on Coach Johnson's preparation of a team, Harry, let me say this to you, man. That guy, you practice game tempo, getting water. You practice game tempo, going to drills. You did game tempo, everything. So when you got into a football game, the speed of the game didn't shock you, and you were ready to rock, man.
Yeah,
it's like, to me, they just didn't seem that they were playing their preseason like extended into the first quarter of the season.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's the kind of way it is with a lot of teams because they can't really hit as much anymore. So that first month of the season, you're sort of figuring out who you are.
Yeah, you are.
And it took the Eagles a couple of more weeks. I mean, into the end of October until they really figured out who they were.
That's right.
Pretty crazy. But if you look at the schedule, I mean, they came out and whipped Atlanta. And then I was thinking, well, they did look really good, but I think Atlanta stinks.
They do, but I'll tell you what I thought in that game. I even text Serriani, and I'm like, dude, I thought the plays were well designed. I thought that the defense and everything of the structure, but then guess what? They never changed from that first week, and they carried the game plan and the non-disguises on defense through the first 4 games, and they never changed. They became predictable, and it was never a different game plan the next week. You know what I mean? Everybody started catching up. They caught up with Sirianni and his coaching staff in week 3.
Yeah, San Francisco was the game that got away from them, though. That's the game they should have had at home.
That's right. That's right.
And that's the one where they had that 98 yards drive and didn't score a point.
That's right. That's right. They got down in the red zone, and they weren't running the ball. With the best O-line in football, you're not running the ball.
Unbelievable. I mean, then they lost to Dallas. They got whipped in that game. Kansas City, a couple of tough games. And then they found a way to win at Carolina thanks to a blocked punt.
Right.
Remember they blocked a punt?
They're better than the first. They're better today than they were at the beginning, correct?
Oh, yeah. No doubt. I mean, the Vegas Raiders game was sort of their bottom. That's when they really got embarrassed. And
that's right. That's when they had to change.
We have to change.
Yes.
But then the next week, they beat Detroit. They whipped Detroit. You're thinking, okay, have they really changed? Because it's just Detroit.
Right.
But then they went out and played the Chargers, which I kind of figured they'd lose, but they played tough in that game. Beating Denver on the road for some reason impressed me.
Because they just came off a crush in Dallas.
Yeah, right.
And Dallas had kind of took out the whooping stick on the Eagles on that Monday night game. So you were looking because Denver went into Dallas. They went into Dallas and they beat them up. They just didn't win that game. They beat them up.
They were up like 30-0 at one point in that game.
I think Olsen called the game, and he was like, they are going to turn it on, right? And they just put the stick on them, man. And then, like you said, the Eagles fly out to Denver, and they put it on them.
Yeah, that was impressive, I thought.
It was. That's their best game of the year.
I think so too, because I mean, beating New Orleans, with the backup quarterback, they've gotten some breaks as far as
that is a Dennis Allen defense. Remember, they
Yeah.
were only surrendering 73 yards a game on the ground, and I think they put up a 2-spot on them to over 200 yards rushing.
They
on
ran
them.
the hell out of the ball in that game.
I think it was 247, right?
Yeah,
They had on that.
Yep. You're right.
That was another impressive one because that Dennis Allen defense can get after folks. I think that game
He
this
might
weekend,
get a job again.
He might get
another head coaching job.
That Tampa game against the Saints, you watch, that game's going to be closer than what people think this weekend.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that game's always tight.
Yeah. Let's see. What's the line in that game?
That game, for whatever reason, Harry, just like the divisional games, though, with the Eagles and the Washington and Dallas and the Giants, those games are always tight
and ugly
because they're always there's similarity in the fact that you play them twice a year.
11. Tampa's favored by 11. That's a lot.
Wow.
And, Tampa has not lost.
Is it in Tampa?
Yeah, it's in Tampa.
Okay.
Tampa has not won a regular season game against the Saints since Brady's been there.
That's right. And remember, they won the Super Bowl from the wild card last year.
Right.
That's why they have – hey, talk about getting an advantage. So Brady has a lesser schedule because he had a wild card last year instead of being a divisional winner.
Right.
Okay, so in theory,
he's not
Washington
playing a first-place schedule. Yeah,
that's right. Washington had to play a first-place schedule with a losing record, and the Buccaneers had a lesser schedule because they were the wild card.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and that's why when you read that off yesterday about the Bucs finishing out, look at those finishing games that the Bucs have. There's nobody on that schedule that's going to even give them any kind of competition that the Bucs have in these last 4 games because they are in that wild card seat.
Yeah, it's crazy. They got Carolina twice, the Saints this week, and then the Jets on the road.
Because they were a wild card.
That's as easy as it gets.
Yep. It's a total advantage, man.
Yeah, I got to say, I'm really disappointed in my man Matt Rule. I don't think he's done a very good job this year.
Did you think more that he was going to go in there and turn that thing around quicker? They got off to a great start. I think they were 3-0 this year, and that thing's wobbled back.
And they played like a weak schedule because that's when they lost to the Eagles. The next game was against the Eagles, and we were looking at their schedule. And it's like,
Harry, look how important that quarterback decision is, man. I mean,
well, he made the decision though to move on from Bridgewater and bring in Sam Darnold. How's that looking?
See, to me, Bridgewater, why did you gave him that nice contract after what he did in New Orleans? You saw, why didn't you just have the patience to stick with Teddy?
Right.
Teddy's better than anything they have had since Matt Rule has been the quarterback, the coach there, and he's better than Cam. He's better than Darnold, and you're going like, why did you get rid of?
He's not great. But he's like,
right.
He's
but I tell you what, he could be pretty good if you had Christian McCaffrey in the backfield because he didn't have him last year. He was injured all year.
He's hurt all the time. I think.
You know what? His treads are just about done.
Yeah, I agree. Too much of their offense was built around that guy,
and they ran him, in my opinion, too much in between the tackles. They needed to try to preserve that guy's carries. 11 carries, maybe a game. Not 23 carries for a guy 180 pounds.
Right.
And plus you have him in the offense where you're throwing the football to him. Harry, you're looking to get that guy killed.
Right.
Okay. And it's playing out that way. Now, he's the highest paid running back in the league.
Is he really?
Check this out now. So watch. Todd Gurley was the highest paid running back in the league.
Hurt.
He's whacked.
Yep.
Look at Zeke. He's the highest paid running back now.
He's
going to be whacked.
Yep.
Christian McCaffrey. Dude, these guys today, the only guy that is an outlier is that Derrick Henry guy. But get this, he's hurt.
Right, he's hurt. Well, yeah, he had surgery, right?
Yep. But they're saying
Saquon Barkley too. He's got to be pretty highly paid, and he's been
that's
hurt.
why I think you have to have dual backs. I think you have to have 2 people.
I think you need 3
nowadays.
I think you need 3. Really?
It's okay.
Yeah,
Le'Veon Bell too. $50 million. He was a bum too.
Right. He was great in Pittsburgh.
The guy with the upside down tweets. Oh, by the way, think about this for a minute. How's that worked out? He sat out the whole year. He blew $14 million. He took a pay cut going to the Jets. And now, instead of on his track to go to the Hall of Fame, that guy's career, he's unemployed. 3 years removed from that whole situation, he's unemployed.
Bell?
The Ravens cut him.
They did?
Yeah, they cut him. He's not on that roster anymore.
Wow. I didn't even know that.
Hey, I'd like to have that guy on my roster.
Hey, man, for a couple years, though, he was he had great patience in the hole. He would sort of
1,500
wait,
yards, 780 in receiving.
and he'd have that great jump cut.
Yep.
He was a great jump cut guy in the hole.
Was he that
Great.
good at Michigan State?
It's a good question because I don't think
I
I
don't
never knew
remember him.
of him like I know about Kenneth Walker III. Like I didn't,
love that kid.
Yeah, I like
love
him a
that
lot.
Kid. Yeah, I love that kid. By the way, Ironhead's kid plays on that Michigan State team
Yeah,
too.
he does. That's right.
Yeah, I love that kid, man. I love the Haywards. I got a pinched nerve to this day, and I wake up every morning when Ironhead gave me one.
Is that right?
Back of my neck. Holy cow, that guy was a bear.
I like that coach out there, Mel Tucker.
Yeah, me too, man.
Yeah.
He just got a really great deal, $10 million a year.
Not yet. For
they've
10
turned that
years.
job. And hey, dude, but get this. Look at the money, man. So Mel Tucker gets $10 million
from Michigan State. Because there's like 3 alumni there that are rich that wanted. They just said we're going to pay the guy. We don't want him to ever leave.
Is Michigan State in the Rose Bowl this year?
No, I think it's Ohio State and Utah.
That's it. That's right. Ohio State. That's right.
I like Utah in that game too.
I do too.
With the points,
I love Cal.
They want to be there.
Yeah.
Ohio State does not care.
No, here. Hey, whenever we were not in a national championship game, we showed up at a Sugar Bowl one year. Mm-hmm. We got hammered so bad down in New Orleans. Man, Tennessee it's the only time in my career at Miami where we just got the shit kicked out of us.
Is that right?
Everybody was hammered. We're down at Hurricane. Hey, how you doing?
Oh, so you were partying big time.
Oh,
and
big
just
time.
Didn't care.
Nobody cared. And we were 10-1. I think we were 10-1.
Mm-hmm.
and we realized that because Oklahoma had beaten Penn State in the Orange Bowl. If we had won that game, we would have won another national title. But we looked at it with God, I wish we could have that one back. That and the Penn State game.
Yeah, the Penn State game. That was incredible.
I start that game out with a 15-yard sack. I jump up in front of 100 million people, and I'm on every single newspaper cover. I got these covers from Newsday to New York Times, and I stand up there. Jerome's like, holy shit, you killed this guy. And I'm like, I look down at this guy, Schaefer, and I go, all day, bitch, all day. And me and Jerome that guy in the afternoon wrote a book about us. That's on the Fanatic.
Yeah, right.
He's got, and Xander was reading them all. He's like, holy cow, Sileo. He was really great in this book. We were maniacs, but get this, in that game, we gave up 7 first downs, and we had 7 turnovers.
Jeez.
And lost.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Do you still have the fatigues?
I do.
You do?
I do. Oh, and I see how it started, because my legs are big. And what I would do is I wore these pants. Remember those old painter's pants back in the day?
Yeah, sure. They were very popular. Yeah.
Very popular back then, right? So I just wore the pants just to wear them. So I'm showing up to Oklahoma, Florida State. I'm showing up, and people are like, Sileo's ready for battle. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I had no idea. So then Vinny Testaverde, believe it or not, Testaverde comes up with the idea. So Jerome, of course, goes and gets all of these fake guns, grenades. We show up on an airplane. You could never do this today. So we are in full gear fatigues. We've got grenades from like the Army Navy.
Like plastic ones. Yeah.
No. Like the ones that were at the Army Navy surplus stores.
Oh, really?
We had grenades and machine guns. We get off the airplane. There's no bullets. There's nothing in there. Because Jimmy didn't want us. But Jimmy was like, so you guys are going to walk off the plane like this? I said, yeah, we had eye black.
I remember.
We were the SEALs. So we walk off this airplane, and we walk like we're part of the Black Panthers. We're walking off this thing. People are like, holy shit, look at these guys. I thought it was a joke. So the next day I show up at a press conference with a Hells Angels jacket on. And so Jimmy goes, where'd you get that? I go, same place, bro. They got a lot of cool things there. These guys are Hells Angels on cleats. And
wait, you had Hells Angels colors on?
The whole thing. I show up in Arizona at a press conference. I thought it was funny, and I thought it brought some drama to the game, you know, and I thought it was good versus evil. Little did they know Jerry Sandusky was on the other sideline.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
That guy came into my house, Harry.
Did he?
And recruited me. Hey, we'd love to have – dude, he's one of the best recruiters and defensive coordinators in college football history.
No kidding.
Oh, absolutely. When he left that job and he resigned, I knew something was up because he was earmarked to be the Penn State coach.
Well, he turned down Temple, wanted him to be the head coach in the 90s.
Wow.
And he didn't want to leave State College to come to Philadelphia.
He was going to be the Penn State coach until all of a sudden, out of the blue, I think he resigned like 4 years before that mess happened. Something like that. Because then Galen Hall went up there.
Right.
Was the offensive coordinator up there. And Galen was like, because I think that was Joe Paterno's first quarterback when he was the head coach back in the 60s. And he told me, he goes, yeah, really weird that he would leave. And nobody knew any of the stories that were going on. But that Penn State game, to this day, it haunts me every single time because that our team would have been considered the greatest college football team of all time.
Now, were you on the Catholics versus convicts team? Or were you gone by then?
Here's how that started. So in 85, Penn State or Notre Dame comes down.
Hold up, though. We could take a break first. We'll take a break.
All right,
Hold
cool.
that thought. We'll be back with a great story from Dan Sileo, Catholics versus convicts from 1988, and a whole lot more right here on The Middle on the JAKIB Media YouTube.